Over the recent years, I've spoken to many business marketing people who have become fascinated about employer branding or HR/talent marketing as a whole. And I love it when seasoned professionals become affectionate about HR marketing, because after years in the highly competitive consumer or business marketing world, using your skills and experiences in human-to-human marketing can suddenly make a whole lot of sense as a natural career development step. And that is why I wanted to dedicate an episode for all those of you who are curious about HR marketing as a career path, whether you're transitioning from business marketing, working in other areas of HR, or still a marketing student and haven't yet decided the direction for your career. And today we are going to explore this exciting topic, HR marketing versus traditional marketing. And I packed this episode with insight and guidance for your career journey, whether you are a seasoned marketing professional looking to transition to talent marketing, or if you're already working in some areas of HR marketing. So with this, I wish you welcome back to another episode of the Building a Modern Employer Brand podcast. And if you're new to this podcast, my name is Susanna Rantanen, and I am a top employer branding, marketing, and communications expert and influencer in Europe. And I own one of the top employer branding agencies in Europe. And this podcast is for those of you who want to learn how to use branding, marketing, and communications for business success and personal success as an employer or as a professional in the area of HR, talent acquisition, or employer branding. So let's start with the definition and scope of HR marketing. HR marketing or talent marketing refers to the strategic approach of applying communication and marketing principles and techniques to human resources with current, future, and past employees as your target audience for all the messages and communication. And this core objective of HR/talent marketing is to attract, engage, and retain talented individuals by promoting and advocating the company as an ideal employer, place of work, and a community of like-minded professionals. And this approach blends traditional digital and social media marketing strategies and tactics with a deep understanding of HR processes, employee and candidate experiences, and employee and candidate behavior and expectations. And I personally like to divide HR marketing into more specific responsibilities or tasks or roles or categories, because each of them I feel require a little bit different skill set and therefore can offer you an area of development and also focus. So I think that you can combine these elements or these responsibilities to build your dream marketing career in HR, or use this information to maybe plan your ideal HR marketing career path by focusing on developing your skills and knowledge in each or any of these areas that make sense for you. So let's look at the primary roles or responsibilities that I include in the modern HR/talent marketing. So of course, the first one is employer branding. This is about building and maintaining a strong employer brand that adds competitive value for the business in the talent markets that are relevant for the business success. Employer branding starts with clarifying a distinctive employer image and achieving desired employer brand perceptions through a systematic communication of company's values, culture, and unique selling propositions as an employer. And I also like to refer employer branding as a communications process and even a marathon requiring commitment to delivering long-term goals. So if you are let's say that you are a recruitment marketing talent acquisition professional, and you are used to quite like fast term, a lot of short term goals, and like a fast forward kind of working pace in order to see the goals and feel the sense of accomplishment. Employer branding may not necessarily be for you. That's Siri. Funnily enough, Siri said to me like, okay. So it's clear for Siri that employer branding may not be their career choice. Then we have recruitment marketing. Recruitment marketing is about planning, copywriting, and creatively enhancing targeted recruitment marketing campaigns to attract potential candidates for those specific roles that are being campaigned and promoted about for the company. Recruitment marketing campaigns always have a start date and they must have an end date. And they are quick. They are short-term in delivering applicants to the recruitment funnel. And recruitment marketing can use various channels, from obviously recruitment-specific general marketing channels and various job fairs. Recruitment-specific media are, for example, the free and commercial job boards and job sites. And then other examples of the more common digital recruitment marketing platforms are platforms like LinkedIn and Glassdoor, and of course, your company website. And if employer branding is a marathon, then recruitment marketing is a sprint. And I think that this explains to you how different skill sets and strengths are required in recruitment marketing success, or for recruitment marketing success, and for employer branding success. Just like a marathon runner isn't a sprinter, or a sprinter isn't likely to be a successful marathon runner. If you have been listening to this podcast for a long time and consuming my content, you know that I also like to compare recruitment marketing to sales and employer branding to general brand marketing. So there are those similarities in between those as well. Another really important area of HR/talent marketing responsibility is the use of communication for building or strengthening employee engagement and retention. Now, this is an area that is typically an HR responsibility that can be hugely supported with talent marketing and communication. Basically, this means using and applying communication and marketing to help grow awareness about internal elements that are increasing job satisfaction and loyalty among existing employees, and communicating and promoting feedback mechanisms and results and employee development programs that are likely to improve retention. Very closely to that is, of course, internal communication, where we traditionally inform the organization, the people in the organization internally about important company news and updates. Now, I think you and I can probably agree with that. We can argue whether that kind of a traditional type of internal communication is effective today, or whether it has ever been effective. I mean, if you've been working in HR long enough to witness, let's say, 2 to 3 rounds of employee satisfaction surveys, you probably have witnessed the ever existing challenge of good internal communication. And I think that in this modern world of work with hybrid workplaces, facilitating effective communication and dialogue within the organization must take over this traditional, I'm simply storing all this information to the internet and expecting everyone to find it and read it. I think part of effective and modern internal communication is to ensure that consistent messaging and specific platforms for various types of information and communication are in place, and people are aware of those, and an alignment with companies' goals and values when it comes to like, how do we communicate? How do we expect to build the dialogue? What kind of channels are we using for what types of information and conversation? So I would say that a person working in HR marketing and HR communication, responsible for internal communication, is more of a facilitator and a coach of effective communication internally than somebody who's just kind of producing information and sharing it one way, storing and sharing it. I don't think that's modern internal communication. It's not very effective anymore. Then a really important area that we have not typically been very good at HR is talent market research and analysis. I mean, despite of having access to multiple types of data, I think that the typical HR sin is to avoid taking advantage of it. And for those of you who don't know my career history, I built a wonderful HR career for nearly a decade before starting my own recruitment software and talent acquisition business, and then starting employer branding agency Emine. So I have pretty good insight about our strengths and weaknesses as HR people, but also the demands of the job. However, saying that, the ever-growing demand for talent really requires researching the needs and the preferences and our competition for the current and potential employees, researching how do we position in comparison to our competition in the eyes of our current and potential employees. I cannot stress enough how important it is to regularly analyze industry trends to stay competitive in the job market. Working with data and research should be an important part of any marketer's job, but it also requires specific skills and competencies and may not be everyone's cup of tea. Personally, I love working with data and can say that this role goes very well together, being responsible for the other important area of data analysis, such as HR marketing data analysis, which is important in HR and talent marketing, which takes us very, very effectively to the next area of responsibility that could be built into a role, which is data-driven decision making. And this is typically the responsibility of the employer brand manager or the recruitment marketing manager, depending on whether we're talking about recruitment marketing or whether we're talking about employer branding. But your employer brand manager or your recruitment marketing manager may not have the time or may not have the skills or the mindset to work with data. Therefore, having somebody in the organization to take care of all the HR data, including HR marketing data, and analysis to support the data-driven decision making is going to make huge difference in delivering success in HR marketing and HR too. Basically, what we're talking about here is, of course, HR analytics and data to inform and measure HR marketing strategies and measure the effectiveness of HR marketing from employer branding to recruitment marketing, internal communications equally, and adjusting your chosen activities accordingly. Then we have what I find is should be a growing interest on social media or with those companies that are doing any sorts of HR marketing on social media. Talent community and online reputation management as an area of responsibility. This is about managing the company's online presence in relation to its reputation as an employer, because this is an important responsibility in this world where a lot of HR marketing, if not most, is taking place online, from the online job boards to social media to whatever other platforms, discussion forums and such you're using. So managing the platforms, moderating comments, keeping tabs of what people are talking about you, engaging with your audiences on social media is so important. Standing your position, as said, in the market are really important for growing employer brand awareness and building a great reputation and building trust to your brand when you engage with people, when you show your face and, build relationships with them. Then we also have employer brand content management as a role and a responsibility area. So as much as HR marketing these days takes place online, in digital and the social platforms, it does require a lot of content. And I like to refer to this responsibility as employer brand content management, because at the end of the day, all recruitment marketing content and messages must also match the brand, the employer brand, and the desired employer brand perceptions. And I find this role quite central in all talent marketing because the demand for content is massive and requires excellent content management to adhere to the employer brand, of course, match the desired employer brand perceptions, channel out all the employee experiences that are supporting your, what I like to say, claims, employer branding claims or recruitment marketing claims. Obviously, channel out your company culture, your unique and distinctive selling points. And this, pay attention to this. Employer brand content management is important because you want your content to be easily found for resharing and repurposing purposes. That is really important. Then we have talent communication and PR. I would say that talent communication is a fundamental area of all HR/talent marketing. It's much more important than the marketing because there is nothing more important than creating impact and influencing your target audiences than mastering communication and knowing how to choose the right words that will win attention, sustainable attention, will persuade, will influence action in your target audience. Everyone working in HR marketing needs a talent communication master on their side. No amount of promotion, advertising, marketing, resharing will deliver great results if the message fails. Another area to consider in the HR/talent communication is that PR part. I don't think we quite realize the value or the potential value talent PR has to offer. An example of talent PR is, of course, advocacy programs, employee ambassador programs, which I think many organizations are now running, which is great. And these do make a wonderful platform for building mutual relationships between your organization and your talent publics. But then there is another area that I believe that could be used more, and this is offering interesting people and workplace story angles to industry media for a broader exposure. Because you know that these days when every organization is kind of focused on building or creating their own content on social media and not really having to rely on the magazines or the sort of the traditional media publications and newspapers and industry publications. And I think that because of that, there could be a lot of potential for broader exposure because I don't think that those media are getting that much stories anymore. So that's something that I recommend to consider. Now, comparing to the scope of traditional marketing jobs, HR marketing is quite different in sense that we have to combine communication and marketing together because our stakeholders and customers are the same, and our budgets and available resources are so much smaller than, especially with those marketers who work with consumer brands. But then, of course, there are a lot of similarities too that can be synchronized. So when we talk about traditional marketing, we refer to classic methods of marketing used to reach and engage consumers and also business-to-business buyers through offline and online channels. And traditional marketing focuses on promoting products and services, and usually the audience is much broader, especially with consumer marketing, than it is with talent marketing. And traditional marketing utilizes various of tactics to increase brand awareness, drive sales, and foster customer loyalty that I think that we can surely learn a lot from. So let's look at the scope of traditional marketing. So first of all, I've got advertising on my list, and I don't really know why, because it's not the most important area. But I think that when we think about traditional marketing, advertising is probably I guess it is the most significant area for traditional marketing. For a second there, I was thinking about the perspective of employer branding and recruitment marketing, and where advertising is not our main scope. But anyway, let's go to advertising, which is obviously covers much more wider scale of media channels such as TV, radio, print, like newspapers and magazines, whatnot, billboards even. And it's extremely rare in HR marketing to have budgets to advertise on TV, radio, or billboards, or like the sides of the buses or something like that we can see consumer marketing to use regularly. Now, digital marketing hit consumer marketing way before business to business marketing or us at HR marketing. So big consumer brand marketers are extremely skilled in creating and buying ad campaigns that are designed for multiple formats to reach broad audiences across various offline and online platforms. This is allowed by budgets that are tens, if not 100 times bigger than the budgets that we are used to in HR marketing and branding. And this is the reason why traditional marketing, especially when you get to work with highly promoted consumer brands, can be very compelling, because as a marketer, you get a lot more diversity and versatility in your work, in a way. But on the other hand, the bigger the brand, the less likely you are actually to design and create anything. Oftentimes you have various agency partners, so your role is really just to coordinate projects with various agencies. When with HR marketing, when we don't have such big budgets, we have to do a lot more on our own, which means that you get to use your creative flair much more. Then direct mail is very typical, or has been very typical for consumer marketing, especially sending physical marketing materials directly to the homes, for example. And this includes, of course, brochures and catalogs and flyers and promotional letters. But then we have the digital version, which is, of course, email marketing. And especially direct email marketing is very profitable when done right. But it's also easy to fail with it, as, you know, most marketers have access to creating digital email campaigns. I'm currently designing an inbound recruitment marketing funnel with recruitment lead generation for one of my clients. And I am thrilled to have convinced a client to include this form of marketing to their HR marketing strategy, because it can be really, really powerful. So I think that there is a lot of space for us in HR marketing to apply direct marketing into our marketing portfolio. Then we have telemarketing, which is about reaching out to potential customers through telephone. Of course, used for direct selling, customer service, also providing information about products and services. I think closest to this is direct sourcing for those who work in sourcing or headhunting. And while this is not considered as marketing for most, especially not in HR side, every contact that you make with the prospective customer or a candidate is very much marketing, because it's about creating a perception. Is it a good perception? Is it a bad perception about your vacancy, the company behind, or the product or service? Then we have public relations, PR. And this is obviously about strategically managing the public image of the brand or the company. And this includes, well, at the very basic level, it's about press releases, public events, media relations. And I wish more companies took the advantage of strategic public relations for employer branding. I think that there's definitely a space here in the traditional business media, as said, to offer good stories about workplaces and people, because there is less competition. PR is also about stakeholder management. It's also about events, coordinating and managing advocacy programs, influencer marketing programs, employee advocacy programs, offering your experts a keynote as keynote speakers to events and sponsoring relevant industry events. So there's a lot of potential there. And I'm sure that some of you have actually done some of this without really realizing that it's actually public relations. But I think that this is an area where people who have been working in communications agencies as PR specialists, for example, PR managers, who would want to sort of take a career path more towards the human-to-human marketing side, HR marketing, talent marketing. I think here is also an area where your skills can be very useful. And then, of course, we have sales and retail promotions. We're talking about sales events, in-store promotions, discounted offers, point of sale displays, merchandising. To be honest, I don't really know how to turn this form of traditional marketing into HR marketing. Unless you are an employer in retail industry, in which case you have the platform to use, which actually could be interesting now that I'm thinking about it. And we have retail clients. You know, when you're in the middle of recording a podcast and then the UPS driver knocks on the door with packages and the dog goes wild. So that was that. So what I was saying was that unless you are a retail employer, I don't really know how to turn this form of traditional marketing into HR marketing. But then we have trade shows and events on the traditional marketing side. And here we are talking about, you know, when your sales colleagues and business colleagues are participating in industry trade shows and exhibitions and business events, sponsoring events and having those stands at the events and so on. That's what we're talking about. In order to network and have that kind of a direct interaction with potential clients and partners. We do this on HR side. Obviously, we're going to career events, going to recruitment events or meetups, things like that. But I always remind our clients who actively participate in trade shows and events to include employer branding or even recruitment marketing in the marketing mix at that trade platform to connect and discuss career opportunities than those trade events where your potential experienced talent target audience are physically present and actually have time for conversations and exchanging those contact details. So this is an area that I think that it's quite easy to implement. Then, of course, traditional marketing side also has branding, which is, brand identity through logos and slogans and brand messaging, brand guides, things like that, to ensure the brand consistency across all marketing materials and marketing channels. Employer brand is obviously the other end of the spectrum for a company's, like a company brand. But branding can, of course, also refer to branding products, in which case your brand is not on the other side of the spectrum. For us, on the HR side, branding can also refer to branding your experts as thought leaders. In all successful branding, key is to know your target audience extremely well, because branding, to be successful in branding, requires building trust, building authority, having enough empathy, which will evoke emotions in the other party, and showing that you understand the other side, your target audience, and their pain points and struggles, and that you are able to provide them a solution, a way out with what you offer. So you can't succeed in any kind of branding unless you know your target audience really well. And I find this to be a weakness, a challenge, when we collaborate with the branding people, brand marketing people at some of our clients, because they don't know our target audience, because they are not focused on employer branding. They don't have the time or the motivation to know our target audience either. So there can be quite a lot of conflict when employer branding and business branding people butt heads. I have been butting my head multiple times with brand marketers. So here it's important for both parties to collaborate, to understand that this is not about championing which one is right. This is about championing for the company. And we all have something to bring to the table. So the difference between branding a business or a product and branding a workplace is actually bigger than many realize. Employer branding requires total honesty and transparency and basing the employer brand on real, authentic employee and candidate experiences, the core strengths as a workplace according to those employees and candidates, and what value add the employer can offer to their employees as proven and testified by the employees. When you brand a product, it's all make-believe. And much of that applies also to branding businesses, especially those that are larger and are not entrepreneur-led. So there is a difference in there, and it's bigger than you realize. Then market research, conducting surveys, focus groups, in-depth interviews to gather consumer insights, analyzing market trends and consumer behavior. All the same skills and rules of market research also apply to HR marketing. Could be a great career move to change the domain and use your experiences and skills on the people domain, don't you think? Then print and broadcast media. This is about creating content for newspapers, magazines, television, radio, advertisements, sponsored content in this media, editorials. Same, except that in HR marketing, you are unlikely to have a budget to do any of these, or it could be that your entire or half of your annual budget goes into something like that, and then you have nothing else to show for. And that would be a really stupid thing to do. Outdoor advertising. I already mentioned billboards and banners, transit advertising like on buses, taxis, subways. These are visible, can be very impactful advertising in public spaces, but we don't have the budgets for stuff like that usually in HR marketing. And because we're not talking about consumers, but specific people amongst the consumers, it could be waste of money because, how do we know if we're out of the 1,000 people or 10,000 people or 50,000 people that are shown our adverts on a daily basis? How do we know that how many of those are actually potential employees? I would not go here unless this was some kind of a specifically chosen a place location where we know that this is our target audience, which is easiest with students because it's easy to go to a campus site and the bus stops and stuff along the way. And then the final one is promotional products like branded merchandise like pens and bags and clothing items. These are used for brand recall and customer loyalty. And I think a lot of employers these days have merch to share with their employees and job seekers, candidates, and I love it. But I love it better when the merch ties in with your desired brand perceptions, your culture, your values, instead of just being random articles stamped with your company logo. Now, traditional marketing is so much more wide-reaching because the target audience tends to be much broader and budgets allow for more wide-reaching strategies. But what is common between HR marketing and traditional marketing is that branding for long-term awareness and affinity, and then we have promotions to support sales. But in HR marketing, we call these employer branding and recruitment marketing. Now, obviously, traditional marketing has been a fundamental business strategy or business marketing strategy for, multiple decades. And despite the rise of digital marketing, I think that traditional marketing and methods still remain integral to many companies in their overall strategies, especially for targeting demographics that are less inclined to digital media. But digital media is much more cost effective than offline. But then if you think that there's a lot of competition online on social media and on digital media, sometimes it might be a good strategy to choose where nobody else is no longer. Now, I have an ebook for talent marketing roles, which is free for you. If you are keen to understanding HR/talent marketing as a career opportunity and an area to build for years to come. And you can find the link to this ebook on modernemployerbrand.com. Moi moi.